Hey guys, welcome to the How They Did It podcast. I'm here with Functional Bodybuilding Zone, Marcus Philly. If you guys never have seen his stuff before, he actually was the one that got me into training in his version of functional bodybuilding. So I do this for clients all the time because they loved it. A lot of times we'd want to do CrossFit, but they actually wanted to add like mass and get some size and strength. But they were kind of bored to just sit in the gym and do, you know, 4 times 8 to 12 was just not what they actually wanted. And they felt that working out needed to feel like they're sweating, getting that cardiovascular. And Marcus had a very unique approach to this. I'm not even gonna lie, I stole a whole bunch of his stuff. I used it. So Marcus, I'm really excited to have you on the pod. Thank you for coming on.
Hey man, Tony, what an introduction, man. I'm so glad that it's positively impacted you. That's why I do what I do.
100%, 100%. And I feel that, you know, it's a very interesting way that you do it. One, I'm curious. I want to do a little bit of something that I've gotten pushbacks on when I've done it with clients in the past. And I'm curious what your responses would be. So kind of a role playing here. What would you say to people who'd be like, okay, but there's interference effect with cardio. So when we're doing, let's say, our dumbbell press and pull ups, and then we're running on the treadmill, are we actually initiating enough stimulus for hypertrophy without attacking the interference effect? What's your opinion on this?
Well, I mean, if you go to the extremes, of what, people will call hypertrophy training, and you're like, what's the best way to build muscle? If you didn't care about anything else, if you were a robot and I could just program it into you, we likely would not be doing intervals on a treadmill and supersetting that with dumbbell presses and, body rows or whatever, or prone rows. But there's a difference between optimal and then like best practices for the client. And what you led off with was, hey, I've got clients, they want to put on some muscle, but they're tired of doing the same old thing for so long. People need to be engaged and stimulated by their training, both physically and mentally and emotionally, I would argue. So, is doing treadmill intervals, if properly, prescribed with dumbbell presses, negating the hypertrophy effects? Well, I go to the other end of the spectrum. Look at the people who do that at the highest level and have for the past 2 decades. What does that look like? Well, that looks like elite CrossFitters. And these people that you're training or clients, they're not also going to be elite CrossFitters, nor are they going to be stage bodybuilders like Chris Bumstead's. But we know that you can build a tremendous amount of muscle with the so-called interference effect from training, because concurrent training methods and CrossFit style conditioning with heavy weights has been done now for multiple decades with tremendous, success and a body of evidence that shows, yes, you can do that and you can build, mass while you're also building an elite aerobic system. So yes, those. Go ahead.
No, I think that answered it perfectly. And I think as far as what most people actually want from their physique, and I'm a bit of a bodybuilding nerd personally, so like I enjoy getting into the intricacies of hypertrophy and whatnot. But most of my clients don't want to look, and probably will never look because they're not genetically predispositioned that way, like even the best natural bodybuilder, even like someone like Steve Hall, right? And they don't even want to look like that. They're actually, to be honest, I think the style of body that they're at least envisioning as an ideal is closer to a CrossFitter, which, by the way, is still something extremely
Sure.
hard to obtain. And yeah,
Yeah,
but
more
I
like
think that's what they
CrossFitters from
want.
like 2007, 2008. Like the early
Yeah,
day
yeah,
CrossFitters, if you go back to
yeah.
.com days when people were not competing, for money at the CrossFit Games, and it was just, who could post the best workout score online, those guys were sick. Like I looked up to them. I was like, it was the Chris Spielers, it was the, Josh Everett's. Like these guys were built, but they could run fast and they could do all this stuff, and they were lean and they just looked amazing. The CrossFitters 10 years from that point were bigger, much more muscular, they were less lean, or they had higher body fat percentages because they were doing so much more volume of training that they needed that for their recovery. But the early days guys were doing like one workout a day that was like 7 minutes, and they were just absolute monsters, and they had a good amount of muscle tone, but they also could do a lot of other things. And that truly is what people are after. I've heard, Greg O'Gallagher talk about it too. It's his shtick on his social media, and that's like the Kino body guy, but basically says like, look, the optimal body that most people want and, women are attracted to in men and vice versa is one that is like basically an amount of muscle mass that is not it's not a crazy amount to build naturally, and with a good, not an exceptional training program. What it comes down to is people optimizing energy balance and having good body composition. And if a training system that you're in, you walk into the gym, you sit down on a bench, and then every once in a while you get up and go do a set of 8 to 12, and then you sit down on a bench, and then get up and go do a set of 8 to 12, and that's your only training, and then you go sit in an office or you go do something else sedentary the rest of the day, like your level of fitness is low. Like you might be getting strong, but your fitness level is low. So why don't we take that population, which is the vast majority of people, and let's give them a style of training, call it functional bodybuilding, where we take basically advantage of the time you have to go get your ass moving, build a lot of fitness, strength, cardiorespiratory fitness, muscle endurance. Like, I don't care if it's not optimized and there's interference effect. I'm getting you in great shape and strong enough to build the body of your dreams. And it's taking a much bigger bite out of the energy balance, keeping you lean category than being like, well, no, you just need to go to the gym and you need to train for maximum hypertrophy. And then you need to go and control your diet super tight. And it's like, well, these people aren't controlling their diet super tight, So let's give them a tool that allows them to go and feel really good in the gym. And honestly, when they leave a functional bodybuilding gym where they sweat and did some, supersets of push presses and curls and, let's say walking lunges, they feel, oh, I got a kick-ass workout today. I'm going to tighten up on my diet. I'm going to go do something else. Whereas if they leave the gym having done 12 working sets and not even broken a sweat, then they're like, I'll grab the pizza on the way out of Planet Fitness.
Yeah, to be honest, sometimes I really feel that to get the best out of hypertrophy training, straight hypertrophy training, you almost need a certain level of advancement to the point that, I can lift enough weight on the leg press for 8 reps that, holy Jesus, at the end of that 8 reps, I might be like laying on the floor gasping for air. Most people just aren't even close to that level or strong enough to get there.
100%.
So either they'll go way too heavy and they won't be able to hit 8 reps, or they'll get injured in the meantime. They're just not strong enough to do it. But if you add in, a leg press and, a hamstring curl and a burpee, they're going to get a bit of a hypertrophy stimulus, a bit of a workout stimulus, a bit of a cardio stimulus, and even some hypertrophy from doing the burpee because it's bodyweight movement. You're going to get that anaerobic and aerobic response. You're going to feel that you're working out.
Hell yeah.
And most people,
the perfect example of this that comes to mind is that, look, I owned a CrossFit gym for close to 6 years and then was also coaching 3 additional years on top of that. So almost a decade coaching CrossFit inside of a facility that was branded CrossFit. And this was at a time where everybody in the entire community that wanted to do any type of fitness, this was the spot to go. This was the F45 of the day. I mean, more popular, more viral. So I got all types of people, all walks of life coming in. And what was unique about CrossFit relative to the other, boot camp style or group-based fitness is that it was weight training. We anchored in lifting. We always had a lift and then a Metcon. And so I would watch 100 people across the course of the day, my members, come into 6 different classes. And the workout might have been 5x5 back squat. I've got 10 people on the right side of the spectrum who are getting absolutely crushed from 5x5 because they're neuromuscularly efficient. They already have been squatting and have muscle mass, and they can push 5 sets of 5, a 315 back squat, and that's a great stimulus. I've got on the other end of the spectrum, the other like 80 to 90% of people, or maybe like the bottom 40%, they're like lifting 55 pounds on the bar. They do their 5 reps. Their form is a little shaky. They have no motor control. And they put the bar on the rack. They're like, okay, what's next, coach? What's next? And I'm like, nothing, just rest, man. This is supposed to be, strength training. But I can watch them for 20 minutes just completely waste an entire 20 minutes of their workout because they don't have the strength. They don't have the motor control. They have not put in the reps in the years, like you said, of being somewhat intermediate advanced with their training to get that stimulus that the person over on the right who played collegiate football and was in the weight room since they were 12, got in my class. So why don't we take that person, let them learn how to back squat, give them 5 reps of back squat, but instead of doing 5, say, hey, just do 15 of that. Cause I know you don't need to stop at 5. And then when you're resting, come over here and do these pull-ups with this band. And then when in between that and the next thing, I want you to come over here and I want you to do, 20 jump lunges. Okay, cool. Yeah. And then go back over here. And is that taking anything away from their back squats? Absolutely not. Is it giving them, unilateral like strength, explosive training and some upper body pulling at the same time? Yes. Like we just got the whole, 20 minutes back for that person. And who's going to say there's interference with that? It's like, yeah, maybe, but that person is not going to stick around long enough, just doing back squats to get to where we want them to go and feel good about it. And they're going to be like, damn, that was a waste of my money. And I'm going to go do Pilates. And it's like, oh shoot, we lost somebody who could have been really impacted by resistance training.
I agree. I actually saw this. I have a great example of this. So I used to be in the UFC. So I was a mixed martial artist for years. And at some point I had a class and I had to go on a work trip. So I had one of my students take my class. My student was a purple belt, wasn't the most, he was a very technical guy, but he was nervous about teaching class. So he told everyone in the beginning of the work, I was part of the warm-up, we had this big giant pull-up bar, like a long one. Everyone would come and do their max rep pull-ups, essentially. They do a warm-up, and then a max rep pull-ups. And every day they'd do it, try to get one more than they got, the day before. And I came back and every single person there could do more pull-ups than when they started.
Yeah.
They were more excited about coming to jiu-jitsu to do the pull-ups because it was like that like community. They were like high-fiving. Well, we were in the gym learning like, okay, we're going to go over armbar. When you suck so bad as a beginner, and we all suck as beginners, it's like, I'm not going to be able to do an armbar good. So I'm going to come here. I'm just going to fumble around like an idiot for a while. Look at like the guy that does it good. I had to have like a certain level of willpower to eat through it. But every day I could come in, especially in the beginning, and get another pull-up or get closer to a pull-up or, go from 0 to 1 or 0 to half and then half to 1. And then every day is an improvement. So I got this little like win throughout the day. And sometimes that win is, I think and sometimes that win is just, I felt tired. Like I'm sweaty. I'm exhausted. Yeah. I feel like I worked out.
The fastest route to get to the desired outcome is not always the best because it's one that might be mentally and emotionally exhausting to go through, right? So yeah, like would that person have been better off focusing on just doing, arm bar training and saving their arms and their back muscles, by not doing pull-ups and just, hey, come in, be patient, focus, it's like possibly. But after 3 months, they stop coming because they're like, this is just exhausting and like mentally and just, I'm not feeling inspired anymore. Versus the person who comes in, does 2 sets of max pull-ups and then does, their technical skill training in their mixed martial art sport. And they're like, I'll be coming for 3 years. And guess what's going to happen in those 3 years? They're going to get stronger. They're going to learn arm bar and then the next 5 skills that they want to have. And all because you injected this thing that gives them excitement. And that to me is probably the thing that has helped so many people with functional bodybuilding is that I don't claim that functional bodybuilding is the optimal method to build elite CrossFitters, to build stage physiques for, physique sports. But as a hybrid of being able to do kind of both, it keeps people excited and engaged doing it. And when I hear somebody that's like, yeah, I've been doing your stuff for 5-6 years, I'm like, well, guess what? I mean, that person for sure has built muscle, has built a physique that they're happy with, like, because they stuck with it. And that's what we're fighting against most often in fitness, is not optimal, it's consistency. And it's like this whole movement of like this is optimize, optimize, optimize. It's so interesting because those people who are just speaking optimization online, like, they're just talking to a small group of people who are already into fitness. I like listening to it
Yeah.
because I'm already like a total fitness nerd. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to be here every day anyway, so I may as well try and optimize my lat pull downs. But like,
Yeah.
the broader audience is like, what? Like, I don't give a damn about like the most biomechanical optimal way to do it.
Yeah.
I just want to get in and get after it and have fun.
And by the way, there's like even that. There's such a big argument nowadays in the fitness community among the I hate sectioning people off like this. But, they see the science-based community and more like hardcore lifters are like constantly stitching each other back and forth, and there's all these battles, and it's like
Yeah. Half my
I
feed is stitches of just these guys going back and forth.
same here. I mean, I get blasted with it all day. I watched a couple. I made a mistake. I watched a couple, and then it just got stuck. And now my feed's like, oh, you like this?
Yeah,
There's a million of
you're
them.
deep in the algorithm now.
Yeah, they got me. And I find it funny because I like both. I'm a really big fan. I love reading research. I love understanding biomechanics and why things working in the best ways I can to help my clients and myself, get the best results with the best with the effort they can put in. But at the same time, I do see a world where it's like, man, nobody wants to hear this. Like, I have so many clients where I'm like, oh, listen, if we hold in the deep stretch, you guys, like, I used to like doing deadlifts. Now I don't like doing deadlifts. I don't want to do them anymore. What am I going to do? It defeats the purpose completely. He was getting results. He went from deadlifting 100 pounds to 200 pounds. He's doubled his deadlift. And now, because I'm trying to get him into a deeper position of stretch, he just doesn't like it. He's not progressing like he was. It's like, is that actually optimal, since the idea is to get the result?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it reminds me of like the early days of CrossFit, where um CrossFit claimed to be like building elite fitness. And then Greg Glassman came out and was like, I'm going to define fitness because nobody's defined it. This is what fitness is. And, it was a brilliant marketing strategy. But like ultimately, just it's an arbitrary definition that he pulled, that he believed in, and then measured everything else against that. And it's like, well, and then my coach at the time really pushed back against it. Is like, well, why don't you define your own version of fitness? What is fit to you? And it's like, what is optimal to you? Well, optimal to this group is, maximizing every potential opportunity to grow muscle with, this behavior of going to the gym and picking up heavy stuff. Okay, great. Like, that's cool for you, but that is not optimal for everybody. Optimal for everybody is defined in their own terms. And for the client you're talking about, it's like optimal for them was coming in, getting fired up and jacked up on, whatever deadlift session they had in front of them, and bring an effort. And it's like, your job is to keep them safe and to keep them into it. And so stop there. Don't try and over optimize. And I can go back and think about all the people's, unfortunately in my early years as a coach, I was drinking a lot of the different Kool-Aid that was out there. Like, okay, this person said this and this person said this, and okay, that's what I'm going to hold on to. And this is the right technique, and this is the right technique. And I called it dream crushing, because I would crush people's dreams sometimes. They'd be all fired up about something that they did, and I'd be like, yeah, that squat depth wasn't enough, or that wasn't good. It's like, and I can admit fault there. It's like, why the hell did I tell that person that they didn't do a kick-ass job? Like, because they did, and they were fired up about it. And it's like more like, hey, that was awesome. Like, I'm so stoked for you. Like, high five. Like, and next time, like, let's try this. Because I think it'll make it even better. It's like, how can't we, why can't we do that as opposed to be like, this person's wrong. Like, you see this is wrong. This is wrong. It's like, do it my way. It's like, hey, that person's getting results. And if you're interested, I have this method. And I think, with your effort and with a little bit of a tweak, it could be even better.
Well, I think that is the exact way to go about it. I think you get one, I think the clients feel better. As a coach, you feel better because you're telling them something that inspires them. It's such a terrible feeling when you're like, oh, well, you did, yeah, you hit a PR, but, you didn't get that full depth at the end. And it's like, I see his face was lit up, and now my client's face is like, man,
Right.
It's like, don't wrong. If I see my client doing something that's going to hurt himself,
For
or,
sure.
or if he's like doing a half of a quarter squat, then I'll be like, all right, I appreciate the effort, but, I'll still try to be like, you know what? I love that you went and took yourself to this level that you can't do it. That's awesome. Like, that's awesome that you were willing to take that risk.
Exactly.
Cool. Now, let's try to bring that down so we can go a little bit lower. We're going to get there. That's a new goal. I'll try to frame it like, hey, this is the new thing
Yes,
we're going to reach to.
for
Not
sure.
that. I wanted to I talked to you about something else. Nowadays, there's a lot going on with diets, and especially there's a lot of diet fads, as there always has been. We also have the new introductions of chemical drugs like GLP-1s. I
Hmm.
wanted to hear your opinion generally on diet fads, on the introduction of GLP-1s, so on and so forth.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, um, that's a broad topic to dive into, but
Yeah, yeah.
I can take a stab at it.
Take it.
uh, I think from, what I've gotten, this is certainly, I think I got a reputation as somebody who's obviously functional bodybuilding is the brand and is the method that I've kind of coached. So people come to me a lot for training advice and knowledge, but I probably invested more of my life from a coaching perspective into nutrition and to really trying to understand habits and what moves the needle for people. And I've sort of arrived at this state knowing that the biggest obstacle people have is energy balance, is finding a way to eat in accordance with what their body is really requires to thrive and not to accumulate excess energy in their body in the form of fat. Now, many people want to lose fat, and so that's like the process of dieting and caloric deficits. But it's understanding this basic thing of energy balance, where the energy that you expend in a given day through all of your movement, through your metabolism, your basal metabolism, fidgeting, whatever, brain activity, all these things burn energy, burn ATP, which we construct out of calories that we consume through different macronutrients, and then balancing that with what we take in the form of food. And as society has evolved, progressed, right, as we've become a more advanced society, that has led to a greater abundance of available, easy to access calories in forms that are more appealing than ever before in human history. And that just continues, that path continues. There's more calories per person that are more tasty, that are more available and easy to access. So we keep moving into every day, every year is kind of a new environment where this stuff is more readily available and we want it. And our biology is driven to have it and to go and seek it and to consume it. And as we become more evolved as a society, there is more opportunity to do less of the activity. Everything is more convenient. You can get everything brought to you. You don't have to even go to the store. You can just have it delivered. Amazon brings us everything. People don't go to local stores. They don't walk the parking lots. In many cases, they don't even go to work anymore, get out of their house. They work from home. It's remote jobs. It's, even that 3 blocks that they used to walk from their parking garage to the office and then up some stairs and back, like that used to be all of people's physical activity. And now that has gone to essentially zero. Yes, there's more awareness on physical fitness, but that's because we're solving the problem of people moving less and eating more. And that problem just keeps compounding. So we think like we're failing as a diet culture or as like a nutrition education culture, but it's because the problem seems to outpace the solutions that we have. And therefore, I really believe that our job is to slow people down, to educate them on what this balance means and show them through real data collection and daily activity and let them monitor it themselves with the support and the guidance of a coach for a long period of time, long enough, like 3, 6, 12 months, to truly start to see for themselves through data, wow, my body only needs this. I'm consuming this consistently. It's hard for me to just consume this when I want to consume this because it's so available, and it becomes almost like the wool is pulled, it's removed from in front of their eyes, and they're like, oh, I see the problem, and now it's about adopting the habits and solutions because I understand the problem. Whereas people think the problem is, man, I'm fat, or man, I have too much body weight, or I just want to look like that person. I'll go fix it. But they can't fix it in a short amount of time or a moderate amount of time. They must learn why that becomes a problem. They must understand the language of energy balance to a certain degree. And then they must come up with long-term habits and an approach that will work even when this gets harder in a year, in 5 years from now. Now, to the point of GLP-1 drugs, and pharmaceuticals and medical interventions that's going to support this problem, I'm all for Western medicine or, the advancement of medical technology to help solve this problem, because it is a major problem. It's not just a matter of willpower. It's not just a matter of like, oh, you guys are just lazy. It is, we have tried to evolve society in such a way that it has created a compounding energy balance issue for most people that they're just completely unaware of, right? And there's plenty of things that we as a society come up with solutions for the population, because it's beyond reasonable to think that any one person is going to know how to deal with, like, to think about any public safety or public health measure that a local government or a statewide government takes to protect the citizens from this problem that they're just blind to, but they know is really an issue. Okay, well, this is an issue, and most people are blind to the issue the way I just described it. So why aren't we working hard we obviously are. We should be working hard to come up with interventions that can help people mitigate that obstacle. And this is, a GLP-1 drug is a perfect example. Reduce and curb someone's appetite.
I agree 100%. I think everything you said, you didn't take a stab out of it. You took a slice out of it. It was perfect. You got it right on the money. I think that one of the issues is, a lot of people that have an issue with GLP-1s, I tend to believe that they lack the understanding of how hard it is for somebody to understand. Even if they do understand, even if they're given the information point blank, even if you're like, listen, it's a simple matter of calories in and calories out, okay? Don't eat as many calories. And they go on their way. That's so hard to put in practice. And as humans, we don't learn behaviors from just learning them. We get information, then we put that test against some kind of resistance of some kind, and then we try to apply what we learned, that behavioral learning, within that resistance. Normally we don't do it well, but we kind of get better at it, then we fail and go back and do it again. And the feedback loop is so long on losing weight that sure, you'll lose a few pounds here and then you'll stick, and then it's going to take weeks and it's not happening day to day. And then the next day your weight might be up and you don't know what's going on. And it's such a psychological battle. And if somebody has 30, 40, 50 pounds to lose to be healthy, forget about looking ripped and all these excesses, just someone to be healthy, it can feel overwhelming to a point that it's easier to not even consider it. And I think for a lot of people, even the people like I used to be obese. I used to be 265 pounds at 5'6" when I was a kid. So I was really heavy, bad eating habits. And yeah, I was able to lose weight pre-Ozempic, but I took 10 years of battling, yo-yo dieting. I actually became a nutrition coach and personal trainer because it took so much of my life away, such a large part of my life to learn how to defeat these behaviors. And I think it's an amazing thing that if done correctly, and my understanding of get done correctly is I believe that if you are going to take GLP-1s, you should get a coach if potentially, or stick to some program, try to learn. It's like an opportunity to learn all this new knowledge without feeling excessively hungry, fighting all of the constant mood swings. It's a drug that can help you move 2 steps forward without your biology pulling you back into where it was before.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully put. And let me just say, like, the fitness industry is lucky to have individuals like yourself who have gone through big transformations and suffered and gone through the pain and the life lessons of a decade to say, hey, I want to go and share that. It's like that is what teaching and education is about. It's I went through the pain to learn these lessons, so now I can teach you, hopefully, so that you make you experience less of the pain that I went through. And I want to be clear, like I don't think that we should take unnecessary risks with medical intervention technology in the pursuit of like healing or solving a problem. Like, medication that people are going to take to curb appetite, we want it to be as safe as possible. We want to have the biggest body of evidence that shows, hey, you know what? This doesn't actually cause any downstream side effects in and of itself, And also to your point, I think any medication, it's like going on antidepressants without having a therapist or an engaged practitioner that's going to help you continue to uncover like what the root causes of your, neurochemical imbalance or, whatever thought patterns and, psychological, like mental health struggles you've been through. I think that's also potentially risky, where it's like, hey, I'm depressed, take this medication, continue on. You get a buffer from that depression now because you've gotten onto a medication, but you're still exhibiting all the behaviors that led to you arriving in that place in the first place, and they're going to show up again in life in some way that you can't anticipate. So having guidance, like, I think there's an ethical, a way to prescribe GLP-1s to say, hey, you know what, like this person has no experience with resistance training. If I just put them on this drug and they stay inactive, they're that population that runs a risk of losing excessive amounts of lean tissue to the point where now they might find themselves with osteoporosis at some point. They might find themselves, functionally too weak to engage in daily life the way they want to. And so, yes, there's definitely like a correct way to go about it. As you said, it's like, what's the correct way to do it? But even then, it's like, go back to our conversation about what is optimal, what is fitness. It's like, well, what is the correct way to lose weight? Like for somebody, it's like, well, the correct way this is my opinion of it. And I think a lot of people would, agree around some of those positions, but there are going to be cases where somebody's not necessarily morbidly obese and type 2 diabetic, where they spend a disproportionate amount of their time and daily energy thinking about food and feeling shame around their inability to control appetite. And if with this drug, for example, that goes from 8 hours a day consumed by this obstacle that we all face, and it goes down to zero. And what do they get to do with those 8 hours? They get to put that towards a fulfilling life for them. And so maybe they don't need the coach and they don't need the right, to do it the correct way as we might see it. I just leave a tremendous amount of space for, it's like, we're all humans on this journey. Let's just make sure we're giving people solutions and providing them with enough education and knowledge so they can make informed decisions, not just like, hey, this thing's great for you, go take it. It's like back when everyone was taking ephedra because it was just working for like fat loss. And it's like, oh yeah, cool. Like this over the counter at GNC, I'm just going to buy this bottle. And then people start dropping dead from heart attacks. And you're like, let's make sure everyone knows about that. And let's make a public safety measure and pull this from the shelves so that we can protect people against themselves, because they're going to go do stupid stuff with things that are effective.
100%. It's funny. So I launched a protocol for people taking GLP-1s because so many of my clients, for my online clients, they would come to me like, Tony, I'm considering doing GLP-1s. Not all of them were obese. And I started creating basically protocols around it. And at some point, I partnered with Dr. Dean St. Mart, who owns Supplement Needs. And I was like, listen, we need to create some stuff for my clients. And we ended up launching out this product. It's going to be launched, I think, next week. One of the things he did is like, well, have you ever been on it yourself? Have you ever tried it? Dr. Dean asked me, and I was like, I haven't, but I've coached a bunch of people. He's like, well, you maybe should try it to get some firsthand experience. And I'm like, what? I'm going to try it. You're right. I have a photo shoot to do anyway. I want to get down to low body fat. Let me do it. Maybe it'll make it easier. It was the first time in my life that I can remember, my adult life, that I didn't spend a large portion of the day thinking about food. Forget about being on a diet. I've been to single digit body fat multiple times in my life. Whenever I've done it, it's been horrendous. All I can think about is I can't wait for this to be over so I can go back to my normal. I can't do this anymore. I got down low body fat. I actually was like, this is great. Like I'm training, I'm eating my protein. I actually started adding in cardio because I wasn't feeling depleted or anything. So I was like, not that mental exhaustion. My sleep was okay. And I'm like, wow, okay, I understand it now. Now I understand it on such a deeper level that I've become, I know that there's multiple use cases for it. And I'm really excited for the research to keep coming out, for more and more studies. So we just get more and more understanding and deeper understanding.
Totally. Yeah. And the same thing goes for hormone replacement therapy, peptides, things that are out there that, it's like, there will come a day where there's probably a supplement stack that people can take and a gene therapy that pretty much gets them good and they don't need to do much else. But we're probably a ways off from that. In the meantime, understanding how these tools can support a lifestyle that we believe in and that we've been trying to teach and share with others. It's like, let's just make sure we know as much as we can so we can inform people. And, even when the day comes, I think there's still going to be people who want to move their bodies because they truly do enjoy it. And it's part of like it's not just a tool to achieve a physical outcome. It's a tool to express like how our bodies what our bodies are capable of. It's like in a world where you could go to I got asked this question. It's like in a world where you could just go to a facility, a clinic, for example, they could give you a shot and, one gene therapy a month, and you would be well muscled, strong and really lean and not really have to think about it. Like, would you exercise still? Like, would you still go out and, take advantage? It's like, yeah, I think I'd be out there moving, and I'd probably still go to the gym and play around and do stuff and, use this thing. It's like one thing that I know is true is like when I'm in my best shape, like leanness or, I've dieted down, like going to the gym and lifting weights is pretty fun. It's sick. It's like, oh, I got a good pump. Like I look good. I feel good. Like, so I don't foresee that going away entirely, no matter how advanced, you know, technology and medical interventions get.
I just think I think it will be, even have more fun in the gym because your gym will be actually like, okay, which activities are super fun for me right now with all my new muscles to play with? Like, what
Functional
sounds like
functional
will be
body functional bodybuilding would be a lot more fun for people. Like I don't care about optimizing. I'm just having fun.
exactly. I'm just here to have a good time. Like, let's run on the treadmill, do a trampoline, some pull ups, some muscle up, and
Yeah,
call it a day.
yes, I love that. It's like
Yeah,
I'm gonna slackline my way over to the dumbbell rack right now.
yeah,
Whatever.
whatever. Let's handstand walk on the way there. See what happens. So I want to leave you with one last question before I catch on playing. So everyone knows what what a champ Marcus is. He actually took this podcast with me while I'm at the airport getting ready to leave. I didn't want to leave him hanging, so I came here. Didn't complain about it. Nothing. Took it like a champ. You guys might have seen people walking past me at some point. So
I
I
think
want
I
to thank
saw in the
you.
reflection back there. I saw a couple monks walking by earlier. That
There,
was good.
there was a couple monks walking by. At some point, I was like, "Are they monks?" Yes, they are. Well, I'm in Nice right now, so it's a Cannes Music Festival. Everyone's leaving and coming, so you got all the characters over here. So I want to thank you for that. But before I leave, I wanted to actually ask you one thing. When you're training now for yourself personally, because you're really lean, at least from what I'm seeing on Instagram and what I could see even right now, you stay lean all the year round. It seems to me, at least from the outside. Is your training mostly just functional bodybuilding still? Is that how you're programming your own personal training now?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I took an experiment. I don't know if it's like I'm sort of a perpetual experimenter of like methods and approaches because it's not enough to, like you said, read it in a book. It's like I want to experience it myself and learn. Um, and yeah, I mean, I would say post CrossFit career, um, I started to like really explore nutritional strategies to diet down because that was never something that we did in CrossFit. It was like fuel yourself, perform. Like I cared about aesthetics, I'm not going to lie. Like
Yeah.
I didn't want to have, high body fat percentage while I was trying to also win the CrossFit Games, but once being the most elite CrossFitter was no longer the goal, like I explored and experimented with different types of intermittent fasting, calorie restriction, carb cycling, go through a cut. And I got like very, very lean in 2020, 2021. Like, this was the leanest I had been in my life with as much muscle as I had put on in my CrossFit years. And I'll be transparent. Like I got kind of addicted to that. I was like, oh, I like having this sort of like really narrow waist. Like, as a CrossFitter, we're like very built in the midsection because we're doing a lot of axial loading. So I kind of got into that phase, and I let that kind of run a course that was far too long. So come 2024, I was like, essentially, I had lost a substantial amount of muscle mass from my CrossFit days. And I just was like, I'm not really happy with this anymore. And so late 2023, and I was afraid to try and put on weight again, to be perfectly honest. Like I just was, oh man, I like seeing these like this leanness and these, this body, but at the same time, there's a part of me that's just not feeling energetically good about it anymore. So, one of the programming tracks that we have in my training program is we call it Pump Lift. It's just a lifting program. There's no additional conditioning metcons types like in the program. And so I fully invested in that. And I said, okay, I'm just going to be doing this for the year. And I'm going to reduce my, you know, high intensity cardio down almost to nothing for a period of time. And I'm going to intentionally try and, eat back some of these calories that I've kind of restricted for myself for too long. And so really 2024 and up until just like last month, I was like bulking in a way. And it was the most body fat that I had accumulated in a long time. Not a lot, but still to me it felt like a lot. But I did put on, I mean, my lightest I was 178. I'm 5'10", and this week I'm like 191. So
Okay.
I was able to put on a decent amount of muscle, and so now I kind of like ran the course of that experiment, and it's been really transformative, both physically and mentally, and gave me a great perspective on it. And now when I go train, my training like right now is 4 days a week in the gym, doing predominantly, lifting, bodybuilding, functional bodybuilding lifts, mixing back in some of my CrossFit gymnastics, spending 1 day a week riding my mountain bike pretty hard, another day a week doing some interval conditioning, whether it be in the gym or on a treadmill or on a Stairmaster, something like that. And I kind of got the itch to start mixing back in some of those classic functional bodybuilding, routines. But the beauty is that, this is a training continuum. It's not like you're either doing this or you're doing that. It's like what I felt was what I wanted to encompass in functional bodybuilding was bodybuilding, CrossFit, and everything in between. And we kind of fill those middle gaps. Like my bodybuilding approach for the last 16 months was not the C-Bum training protocol. It was my approach to that, using supersets, using exercise selection that, explores deep ranges of motion. But that is, it is truly how I approach training. And really probably the biggest shift in the last 6 years is that I've just reduced my in the gym time down to just 4 days a week as opposed to 5 days plus double sessions and all of the above.
Well, and you're still getting in your mountain biking and everything else now. And Marcus, I want to thank you for your transparency. I want to thank you for your time, for being on the show, and your patience. Uh, we're gonna have to cut it. I wish I had another hour to talk with you, but
Yeah,
thank you for
man.
taking this time
This is
out for me.
beautiful. This has been great. And yeah, I love that we made it happen even while you're at the airport.
All right, me too. All right, Marcus. Guys, this is the How They Did It podcast. The pod's out.